gotta buy this Donatello skin.
You gotta buy the April O'Neil
Sorry,
skin.
Marty.
Sorry, Marty. I can't watch you save cinema. I'm playing a Fortnite.
Okay, so we watched Killers of the Flower Moon,
We did.
and what did you think?
Well, I will start by saying that I think that this movie was incredible. I think it was incredibly well acted. I thought that the directing was fantastic. And overall, it looked super impressive. I think Lily Gladstone acted her ass off. I think Leonardo DiCaprio played a character that I haven't really seen him play before. When the movie started, I said, I would love to see, for once, Leonardo DiCaprio play a character that's kind of like a sniveling asswipe. And I feel like I actually got that this movie, which is funny because I was thinking that I've never really seen Leo in a role that isn't like the suave, cool guy who is like everyone wants to fuck. And in this movie, he was sort of the opposite of that and was like a coward loser. And it was really interesting for me to see from him.
Yeah, it was a cool kind of different character, like I guess gray in terms of good or
Yeah.
bad.
I felt really slimy the entire time while I was watching it. It was kind of good for me to take a break because especially the first like 2/3 of the movie, everything before the FBI shows up just feels so like depressing and like unavoidable. I don't know what's the word. Like it's not. What does Thanos say? Inevitable. Everything feels everything feels so inevitable.
Oh, Martin Scorsese would not like that.
He
you
would hate
referenced
the reference
when
Avengers.
talking about his movie.
But yeah, so everything in the first 2/3 of this movie just feels horribly inevitable, and you feel like there's nothing that the Osage can do, and there's no justice here, and it sucks.
That was
Sorry.
kind of hampered. If we want to get into that, it kind of did hamper some of my enjoyment. Was like I get it's a what's it called, historical drama, so it's like real, but it was really depressing for the whole runtime. I don't know. I wasn't having a lot of fun watching it in parts, but I still did enjoy it.
Right.
But
As much as you can enjoy a story about like horrific injustice, it was enjoyable.
I guess you kind of said it was a lot. I enjoyed
Yeah.
it, but it was a lot. So.
Both in content, like time wise, and also just like content depth wise, because it did feel really shitty, and then also it was super long. But the movie's great. The movie's great.
Well, can we talk about the acting, or did you have something?
Oh no, sure. Let's go talk about the acting. Yeah.
Because with the acting, I did have some mixed feelings. Leo it was cool seeing him play that character that's kind of slimy. But I don't know. Maybe it's just because I've heard a lot of like Leo hate in recent years. I feel like some people, especially more film snob people, don't really like him generally. Maybe it's just the specific channels that I watched, but I I feel like he didn't knock it out of the park. A lot of it was also towards the end I started to notice how do you know how he has that like super deep frown scowl on his face?
I was gonna mention that he had like a perpetual,
Yeah.
like almost comically accurate frown on his.
No,
face.
it is comical. I have to like frown so much to make that face. I was looking in the mirror, and to make a face like that, a frown that deep, like it hurts.
Yeah.
It must hurt his face. He must feel silly frowning that deeply the whole time. And yeah, he's doing it for the entire last act of the movie. I looked at Letterboxd and I only had to scroll like a few down until it's like, why is Leo frowning the whole time? It's like, yeah, so that kind of colored the performance too. Not to say that it was like one note, because it was a pretty, like, you got to see a bunch of different sides of the character.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was an interesting character. What I was going to say about Lily Gladstone was I kind of didn't love her performance. Hot take.
Okay.
I thought she was kind of like I don't want to say one-dimensional, maybe like two-dimensional, because it's really sad to watch. Maybe that's why I didn't like it. I just didn't like it on that level.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like 90% of it is she's like sweaty or crying,
Okay.
and then the other 10% is she's just like stoic and unemotive. And it wasn't that interesting to watch her like writhe on a bed for 2 hours. I don't know. I didn't really like, she was probably the weakest of the leads to me, honestly. I didn't really, I don't know. I know it's a hot take
Yeah,
though.
I think that's definitely a hot take. I think
Yeah.
that because I think that she did a great job. I think that also it's like the way her character is the sort of like the unemotive part.
I know that she's supposed to be that, like, Native Americans are supposed to be stoic,
Hmm.
and like she also, as a woman, she wants to be stoic and strong. She's like, um she's not just throwing herself at Leo in the beginning. Obviously,
Right.
she's trying to make sure that he's like a good person right off.
Yeah.
And he's trying to convince her of that, which is a cool dynamic there. Um, I mean, that was the interesting part, is that Leo is trying to come off as like a good guy, a catch or whatever,
Right.
when you know that there's a lot of duplicitous stuff there. And she's trying to suss him out too, to see if she can trust him. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. I found it hard to connect with her, I guess, because she was acting it so stoic.
Hmm.
She kind of just went like she was either at 0 or 100, like emotionless poker face, or, breaking down crying. Like, she's really good at crying. She's good at that.
Yeah.
It wasn't a very interesting performance for me to watch. I don't
I don't know.
know.
I just felt so much empathy for her character because she was literally
Hmm.
losing every single person who like
That's
mattered to her. And it was
Yeah, it's 3.5 hours of just a woman's whole family dying. It was really a
yeah,
lot.
it was really heavy. And I guess like this is based on a true story, right? Like
Yeah, that's the
yeah,
thing.
so
Like, that's the story being
I
told.
think
So.
and yeah, and that's like when Scorsese shows up at the end and he's like the murderers were never mentioned. Which I thought was that part was a little bit like heavy-handed, I guess. But yeah, I think that like the fact that it's really hard to watch and it's really heavy is probably the point. It's probably supposed to make you feel that way and make you feel like these injustices were suffered because like it definitely was injustice and like the people who did this shit never actually faced any real consequences for it. So it
I
is
do feel kind of bad for like calling it a bad performance or saying that I didn't like the movie, because it made me really sad, because that is the point, and that's like the reality of it,
yeah.
and it wants to make you like it's not a feel good movie, obviously.
No, definitely
It's
not.
what it's going for. So I guess I'm more saying that's just not my cup of tea. Sometimes maybe not for 3.5 hours. I still did really like the movie though.
Yeah.
Kind of a little hard on it. Yeah. Let's talk about some stuff that we did like.
Yeah, yeah.
I kind of, you started talking about the stuff that you liked, and I was like, well, could I shit on it for a bit?
It's okay.
But to get back to the stuff I did really like about the movie
Hmm.
was like, I do love true crime shit, as we
Right.
know. This reminded me a lot of, I haven't seen Goodfellas, but this did remind me a lot of The Godfather. I mean, that's also a really long, like that's an epic movie,
Right.
uh, kind of. And Leo and whatever Al Pacino's guy, whatever his character is, he's just Al Pacino. Um, is They're pretty similar. Al Pacino's a lot smarter. Like, he knows what he's doing, and Leo, the kind of the point of Leo's character is he's dumb,
Yeah.
and people are trying to play him.
Hmm.
But it's kind of a similar thing where he starts off as just a guy who, wants to make a living, wants to like do right by the people in his life or whatever, and then he kind of spirals down into villainy and gets more complicit in like the terrible things that he's doing. Not to spoil The Godfather for anybody, um, but that was a really interesting thing to watch. Is just Leo kind of, you're supposed to kind of feel for him in the beginning, because he's just trying to like eke out a living,
Hmm.
and Robert De Niro's the bad guy, but then he like starts doing more and more fucked up stuff.
Right.
Um,
He
yeah.
sort of goes on this like spiral of, De Niro's just giving him more and more like evil shit to do and evil tasks. And he is like stupid. Like he doesn't know how to do this really well, but he's not really like built for it. Like he's an outsider coming to his uncle's ranch to like, after the military, this is all he's got like left. And so he just goes to his uncle, and his uncle's like, well, can you start, helping me steal all this oil money? And he's not really,
Yeah, that was the
he's not really
interesting
built for it.
thing because he's
Yeah.
so dumb. So like he's doing evil shit. Like when he talked to, oh god, what was the first like hitman that he talked to?
Blackie Thompson.
Right, Blackie. When he went to talk to Blackie so that Blackie could kill his wife's sister, I was like, holy shit. But the whole thing is like, you're supposed to be, oh, but Robert De Niro is like making him do it.
Mhm.
And he's like dumb and he's kind of in the system or whatever. So like if he doesn't do it, like he's going to be fucked too. So like how complicit is he in this, or is he just dumb? So
Yeah.
it was an interesting part to think about.
Yeah,
I kind of kept going back and forth.
I definitely do feel bad for him because like he didn't, it's not like he had a choice really, because his uncle was providing him with most of the things that he was using to live, like a house and a job and stuff like that. And so he was just trying to do right by, his uncle, but his uncle was doing evil shit. So, but it wasn't, I don't know, like it, I do think that Leo played a very passive character. I think that Ernest is a very passive character in that things sort of just happen around him and to him, and he doesn't actually have that many choices that he makes that actually impact the story until he testifies. And I think that that's like his big moment at the end of the movie, obviously, is that he sort of comes around. He's like not following orders anymore. His youngest daughter dies, and that's sort of like the catalyst to have him go and testify against his uncle, which is the right thing to do. But it doesn't end in a happy ending for him. I think like he thought.
I like
it
that he
would.
didn't get a happy ending.
Yeah, it was good that he didn't
at the
get
end,
it.
and that was a really crazy scene where she's like, "The fuck was in those shots?"
That was crazy. And I think that there's also a very big emphasis on Ernest being sort of a child. I mean, De Niro's character literally spanks him like in this weird dungeon room that he brings him into.
BDSM
Yeah,
dungeon.
it was a very like odd setting for it to happen in, but De Niro, or I guess his real name is William. Like William really like, establishes himself. Hale. He establishes himself over Ernest there,
Right,
and he
Hale.
really like imposes his will literally onto him, being like, "You fucking idiot! Like you can't do anything right. You're nothing without me. Like you need me to, And he's like manipulating Ernest into doing this, and I think Ernest was probably supposed to be like the fall guy, just in case anything went wrong.
Oh yeah, that all Hale's promises are bullshit.
Yeah.
I thought Robert De Niro was really good in this.
I agree,
Like he
yeah.
was maybe my favorite. He was really intimidating
Mm-hmm.
because he's one of those actors who like has a ton of charisma. So if you know that there's like something bad going on behind the scenes,
Yeah.
he's really fun to watch in these. When he's like, when he's manipulating people, when he's turning on the charm for everyone.
I did think it was really interesting watching De Niro's power go away when Leo says he's going to testify. Like in the jail scene.
Oh yeah, that was a great scene at the cell.
In the cell, like watching Hale slowly lose his grip and his power over Ernest is such a satisfying thing to see. And like you can see Hale being like, "Don't tell, please, don't throw it all away." And Leo's like, "I'm gonna."
He keeps going. He's like going to all his old tricks,
Right.
like to manipulate him, and like they just don't work. He's going through all of
Yeah.
them, and then he just walks away.
And he says, like Hale says, "I love you" to Ernest, and Ernest doesn't say it back or respond. He's like, "I gotta do this," and he keeps walking
Say
away.
it back.
Yeah, say it back. I love you. Say it back. I did think that was a really, really powerful scene, and those two had, I think, really good chemistry as their respective roles. I think.
Oh, they did, yeah. Leo and Robert De Niro. That was great as like the master servant type
Right. Even if
thing.
you didn't believe Molly and Ernest, I think you can definitely believe the chemistry between De Niro and DiCaprio.
Yeah, the gay sexual
Maybe, yeah,
tension there
they should have had
the
something.
whole time.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that
When they got away.
I don't know. So there are definitely really good performances in the movie, and I do really I liked the movie. I think I really enjoyed this. I will say, in terms of bad acting, Brendan Fraser kind of coming in there at the end as the lawyer.
Remember fat Brendan Fraser?
He was just like, "Hold on a minute,
Bro,
I think that
I was
want to talk to
screaming at my
client."
scene when fat Brendan Fraser came out fresh off The Whale.
That was crazy.
Bro, why is he fat? I didn't know he was actually that fat for The Whale. I thought that was like prosthetics and shit. Oh my god.
I think that his character was so over the top and cartoony, and it was weird because every other character in the movie is so grounded and real, and then he comes in and he's like, "Well, I say here, I think that I want to talk to my client."
Okay. I don't know. I mean, he was goofy, but I mean, you have a few goofy characters here and there, like super southern drawl people and like low down cowboys and good for nothing low laughs and stuff. So you could see him in there with the rest. Maybe not that fat and weird and Brendan Fraser looking, but like he didn't stick out that much. It was fun. Like it was kind of unintentional levity for me because I was just fucking laughing at him. Like, oh my god,
spot
it's
in
the
this
Whale, Brendan Fraser.
Dark ass movie. Yeah, it is really depressing. I think I think that this is maybe the movie's biggest weakness is the length of it, and I feel like it really drags out like Molly suffering in bed. Like that is a
dude,
long.
By the third scene in a row with Molly just sweaty
and looking
in
awful.
bed.
Yeah. I do feel
like
they kind of hammered that point in a little hard.
Thank you, Martin.
I was like, Martin, I get it.
I mean, my favorite part was the whole Godfather, what's it called, crime drama thing. Yeah, it goes like full crime drama for a good hour maybe, where it's just, all the politics of crime with Robert De Niro like sending out these different calculated like hits on people, and it's like spiraling deeper. I love how towards the end he does like the fucking Joker move where he like makes them all kill each other. Basically, he's like, "Oh, I hear there's a good. You should skip town. I hear there's a good money to be made at that guy's store." And then he goes over to the guy. He's like, "I hear that people are gonna rob your store later. You might want to shoot him in the face for me." And then he does that like 3 times to kill off like loose ends.
Yeah,
that was really cool. Well, I feel bad calling it really cool because it actually happened.
Right. Yeah, right.
It was entertaining to watch.
Right. And I think that this is a really interesting like genre. I think because it is a crime film like Scorsese is famous for, but it's in this sort of like Western old like period piece version of it that is just so interesting to see, and just like the players are all really familiar. It's just that like the setting is so different, and I think and the context is different, and I think that's really cool. Yeah,
the context different, and it's real, I guess. Like all this stuff really happened, so that adds a weird layer to it. I guess on retrospect, because I'm watching The Godfather and I'm like, yeah, kill that guy, and then I'm watching this, I'm like, oh, that dude actually died. That's kind of fucked up.
Oh shit! Like they actually blew up that house for real. Funny side note: the guy who played Kelsey Morrison, who's like the slick back.
Who the fuck?
He's the guy that kills Anna.
Anna is the alcoholic.
Drunk, the drunk one who gets shot.
And he's the guy who testifies at the end about shooting her.
Yes. Okay. That actor's name is Luis Cancel Me, and that's hilarious.
I've seen it before on Letterboxd.
His name is like legitimately spelled Cancel M-I.
I know. It's like, bro, he's gonna get me too'd.
He's gonna get me too'd in this.
More like Luis Me Too.
Okay, let's talk about let's end it with a segment of
we have to get something that we liked.
We have to clarify.
What did I enjoy about this movie? I enjoyed the crime stuff.
Yeah,
I enjoyed the ambiguous Leo spiraling.
I think okay. Let's just like end it with a segment right now. We liked this movie. It was really good. There was a lot.
Enjoyed it.
There's a lot to enjoy about seeing the crime sort of like unravel and seeing.
Isn't that weird to say though? It was entertaining watching the Indians die because that was the entertaining part about it,
Right,
and it
yeah.
feels so bad.
They're also not Indians, they're Native Americans. Just clarification.
Sorry, okay. Indians is not politically correct anymore, is it?
Is not.
It's Native Americans is so it's such a mouthful.
It is a mouthful.
So sometimes they just say Indians.
It is
Osage.
a mouthful, but it is. You can say Osage. So
It's 2 syllables.
I guess yes. It is weird that the entertaining part is seeing the Osage people die.
Yeah. It feels weird to be entertained by this movie.
Right.
But I was in some parts.
It ethically feels wrong, but it does not change the fact that the movie is very interesting, and like seeing that sort of like crime unravel is sort of, it's, I guess it's kind of the allure of true crime is that
Why do people
it's fascinating.
People love true crime.
And there's even a little bit of commentary at the end too, with the true crime like retelling of it, and there's a guy doing like wacky sound effects on the side.
Yeah, I was confused by that, and I was reading reviews like trying to see people like their take on that, and I think it's supposed to be Martin Scorsese saying like I'm a white man. So this is like me trying to do this story justice, but at the end of the day, like I'm just a guy telling you this.
Right.
I'm not it didn't happen to me. I'm not a primary source. So it was kind of his way of just, I guess, absolving himself of it, because people did say that they had mixed feelings. Some people thought that was a genius ending, and some people were like, "Oh, that's a cop out, Martin. Like, I can just let me take the movie on its own terms. You don't need to tell me like, oh, don't get mad at me. I'm just a silly little guy."
I said too, like it feels heavy handed at the end. It feels like a little corny to have Martin himself be like, "Now listen, this is just my opinion." I don't know why I made him Southern, but like
in my personal opinion.
It does feel a little bit weird to have like the only reason that we know about this story is because it was turned into a spectacle, which is this movie. And so like without the spectacle of it and the dramatization of it all, we would have never learned about this story. And so I think we're right in saying that it does feel bad to be enjoying the movie as it's happening, which is why like I think that we don't have a ton of like really positive things to say about it, because the movie is really good, but when you're watching it, you feel like shit because it's all really happened.
I guess you're right.
So,
and I guess Marty would agree with me.
Yeah,
because it was a piece of entertainment. It's real life made fictional kind of.
Yeah.
But it's just reminding you that this shit actually happened.
Yeah.
You want to just end it there and not rate it?